let me ask you something. How do you react when someone disagrees with you? And how do you respond when someone has a polar opposite view on life than what you do? What is your gut reaction? Do you openly welcome a conversation and want to dig deeper? Or does it trigger you? A lot of people I know are triggered by things like politics, faith, religion, and medical freedom, and so on. So if some of these topics push your buttons, then why? More on that coming up, including how I intend to run this channel in regards to those topics. So stick around. This is week 6 of asking people to talk to me and share their story. Except there's no one here right now. It is January 1st as I record this. This is the first day of 2026. So Happy New Year, everyone. Last episode, we were in Naples, Florida. I was on the street on 5th Avenue asking people about their Christmas traditions. And some of their responses actually surprised me. And I definitely learned something. And I think you would too. So if you missed that episode, be sure to go back and watch it later after this one. But now we're back in PA and it's cold. Side note about PA, I always thought it was funny that here in Pennsylvania, we call it PA, right? I don't know if other states go by their abbreviation like Maryland, MD, Delaware, DE, Florida, FL. Doesn't seem quite right. But since I'm a bit tight on time this week and I don't have anyone in particular to interview today, I thought we could do something a little different, like this. So as we find ourselves in a new year, I think about how a lot of people like to make New Year's resolutions, right? This is where you decide henceforth to start something new in the new year. Now, I'm not here today to discuss whether or not New Year's resolutions are actually a good idea or not, but please let me know in the comments what you think if you do them and if they've been effective for you. Let me know. But instead, I want to focus more on just starting now, whether you're watching this on January 1st or July 10th. So whenever you have a big idea, we often get caught up or hung up on future dates and times and trying to figure everything out. And we bite off maybe a little more than we can chew. And we get overwhelmed and then burned out. But I wanted to address something else that happens when you decide to start something new, like I did by starting this channel. So just some things to be aware of. When you're starting something new, keep in mind that everyone else will probably have opinions about what they think you should do. So let's say you're going to open a coffee shop, as an example. You might have people telling you, that's a bad idea. There's too many coffee shops. But your coffee shop is going to be unique, and it will be selling French pastries. Then someone else might say, okay, but everyone loves donuts, so you should probably include donuts. And if you don't have a solid resolve, it could be very easy to become swayed or discouraged very quickly. In other words, it's easy for people to be an armchair quarterback when they aren't the ones doing the thing. To yell at the TV like they could have made that play so much better, when in reality, probably not. Why am I saying this? When I started this channel, I specifically asked people for feedback, and my ask remains the same. I still welcome all of your constructive feedback, and at the same time, I had an idea of what I wanted this channel to be, while also still figuring out what I wanted this channel to be. And that's a bit of a vulnerable place for anyone to be in the public eye. And now I'm carrying out that idea and still learning as I go. And here we are 6 weeks in. So I wanted to share a few more specifics about myself and about the channel, and hopefully it will help you on your journey as well if you're starting something. So going back to that coffee shop example, someone might look at what I'm doing here and say, hey, you're a Christian, right? You should be going around preaching to people on the streets if you're going to be doing this. Another might say, dude, if you so much as mention God or Jesus or religion, I'm definitely not going to be watching this content. I'm out. Another one might say, have you seen the current administration and what they're doing? Why don't you say something? You have a platform, right? You get it, right? So now just to be clear, this is only an example. I don't have people necessarily saying these things to me, but I imagine that with a broad audience, this is what someone might be thinking. And it's easy to become overwhelmed or distracted by what others might think of you and what you're doing. And so as you start something new, whether that's now or sometime in 2026, you might hold some of these same tensions inside of you. But my word of wisdom would be, stay true to your why. Stay true to your why, which is a combination of who you are and what you have to offer, your unique offer. Boom. That's a powerful combination because it's authentic. So who am I? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm a human. I'm a son, a husband, a father, an uncle, a neighbor, a friend. And with respect to my faith, I'm a follower of Jesus, which I believe to be the way, the truth, and the life. I'm not perfect, but I strive to be honest, kind, loving, and with God in Christ as the ultimate example of how we should love one another, right? Greater love is no one than this, that he laid down his life for a friend. That's what Jesus did. That's John 15:13. And of course, the greatest commandment Jesus said is to love God and love your neighbor as yourself. And that's what Jesus did for me, and I believe for every human that ever lived. Now, some people will hear this and they'll say, wow, that's great. Amen. That's what I believe too. Others might hear this and say, keep your religious beliefs to yourself. So what's my point? Why am I saying this here? Because on this platform, I will be unapologetically me because I don't want to be someone else. Likewise, I expect that other people and people that I interview will be unapologetically themselves too. So far on the show, I've interviewed Muslims, Jews, Christians, and everyone from practically homeless to extremely wealthy. And in 2026, I will also be interviewing friends, business owners, and hopefully many more. And I'm very excited for that. But who I am is who I am. And I'm a product of how I was raised, the life experiences that I've been through, the struggles I've overcome, and of those who are, of course, around me in my circle, in my life right now, my wife, my family, my friends, etc. And so this journey, as it unfolds, sure, I will share openly and honestly, but I'm not here to belittle anyone, shame anyone, or push myself and my personal beliefs onto those I interview. Instead, I want to listen to you and understand why you are the way you are and how you got there and what I can learn and what we can learn from each other, actually. So at the beginning of this, I asked you if you get triggered when someone expresses a belief that you disagree with, whether that's politics, faith, or any other hot button topic. If you've watched me on the show so far, you'll notice that I have interviewed many people already, as I said, that I would personally disagree with. But I hope that you've also noticed that it doesn't bother me. I am confident in who I am, and I want to be kind and respectful to every single person that I meet. But I want to share the three main responses that a person can have when someone says something that you disagree with. So for this, let me just give an outlandish example. Let's say a person tells you Wednesdays are cursed, and they always lay low on a Wednesday and they try not to go out of the house. Well, right away, you and I both know Wednesdays are not cursed. So what this person is saying is, to me, false. So here are the three outcomes. Number one, you can try to argue your point and tell them they're absolutely wrong. And here's why. Here's why they're wrong. And you proceed to try and prove them wrong. And this outcome is usually met with hostility. The person shuts down and doesn't feel heard at all. Instead, they feel judged and discarded. Number two, you can belittle them, point out all the reasons why they're so silly for thinking that way. No one in their right mind could ever think that Wednesdays are cursed. How unintelligent. Now, this outcome is basically called shaming. And it's used widely across social media, the news, and those in power. Now, if you recall back in or during COVID, those who refused to wear one of these were called names like grandma killers, science deniers, and so on. Or, for example, someone who supports Trump, even now, often called fascists. But let's not forget that this is on both sides of the argument. Right? Those who got the shot were likewise called out for following the narrative, being brainwashed, a sheep, right? And so shaming is brutal, and it's widely used all the time, still now. It's also used in religious circles, unfortunately. And I'm not just talking about some who claim Christianity, but many other religions as well use shaming as a control mechanism. So that's number two. Number three, you can listen closely and ask good questions. And in the process, you might uncover the story of why they think that way. For example, maybe you'll find out that when they were younger, one of their good friends or family members died suddenly and tragically on a Wednesday. And ever since, they've been carrying the weight of that trauma over and over again. Now you've uncovered a story. Now, because you chose to open up the dialogue, you can have compassion for that person. Now, I know that may be a strange example, but I think it captures at least one of the reasons that I started this channel. There are so many different views, beliefs, lifestyles, and I'm not going to avoid hot button topics with those that I may disagree with. No. Instead, I welcome them, and I will seek to cultivate a space where we can learn to have civil dialogue about those things and learn to ask good questions. That's something I'm personally trying to work on this year, is to get better at asking good questions. So that's why you won't hear me arguing with people or belittling them just because I happen to have a completely different belief. Okay, we're coming to the end of this, finally. And I know I've covered a lot here, but it comes from the heart. So if you've made it this far, thank you. Watch time is very important. It's a very important metric for the channel. So please do watch to the end, even if you watch in 2 times speed. But also, now you have a much better idea of what I'm trying to do here with Talk to Me. I believe we need more listening and more honest conversations in this world between parties who disagree, without getting defensive and argumentative. There's a proverb that says, death and life are in the power of the tongue. That's Proverbs 18:21. The words that I speak to others, and to myself, by the way, have power to literally build up or destroy. So it's not just physical violence, it's a condition of the heart. And it's from the overflow of the heart that the mouth speaks. That's in Luke 6:45. And with that, I conclude. But I do want to ask you humbly for your support. So if this resonates at all with you, I would invite you to please follow along with me by hitting that subscribe button and also comment so I can interact with you there as well. And of course, please share this with at least one friend. That helps so much. And with that, I hope this was encouraging. I wish you a very happy new year, and I will see you again next week. Peace.